Hey, what's up? This is Wilsfer with Abysmal Hymns, and I am back with Reza Mills. And as promised, we are going over our top five songs by the Swans. Um, which, these guys are like such a iconic band with a wide discography. And they disbanded in like 97 and then got back together and kind of went down a different path. But they cover a lot of ground from like kind of the prototype of industrial to what I knew them as is or thought of them as is more of like a goth band, and then the kind of noisy, jazzy, experimental stuff that they're doing now. I think my five songs are gonna definitely center around a certain time period of their career. But yeah, what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, Swans. I mean, I absolutely love them. I've seen them twice now. The first time I saw them was in Manchester at the Ritz, and to say it was a hipster audience would be an understatement. You know, like basically everyone who reads Pitchfork or something was there, which was quite irritating because I was like, oh, I was kind of there first, but hey ho. But yeah, on a more serious note, I do think they're a very groundbreaking band. They've touched upon all styles, whether that would be noise rock, industrial music, a bit of sort of folk, and more recently, I guess, the post rock. I don't know what you call it, experimental post rock, etc. Which, don't get me wrong, I like the later era. It's fairly impenetrable at times, and it requires a lot more work maybe than their earlier stuff. But I think that once you put in the effort, it's well worth it. But yeah, I don't think your average Foo Fighters fan will necessarily, I could be wrong, be on board with them. It's a little bit more complex than what Mr. Grohl and co have to offer, and that's probably why I love it.
Right, and the funny thing, so they played that Sick New Day festival that was in like it was in Las Vegas, right? And it was mainly like I think the curators of it were System of a Down. So it
Oh
was
wow.
like a lot of bands like that. And the Swans just went on and played one song for like 20 minutes.
God.
And yeah, the reception was mixed.
Of course. I mean, I don't mind System of a Down, really. I kind of respect them as people, you know, and I think their music's okay. So if they're curating it, and excuse me, I'm sounding a bit dumb here. Obviously, that means they chose Swans to feature. Is that right?
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, Killing Joke was supposed to play one of the versions of that festival.
Right. Uh,
Yeah.
God. Pre-Geordie, obvious, passing away, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Hopefully they don't tour without
No,
him. But
no, can't really.
mhm.
Cool.
All right. So how about you start us off?
Well, let's start us off. Right. So, um, obviously they started way back in I think about 81 or 82, maybe even slightly before that. But my first choice comes from an EP um, with a brilliant name, Time is Money brackets Bastard, and it's from 1986. And I think it's just before Ted Parsons, later of Prong, would join. He'd join a year or so later. And what I love about it is it's like pummeling industrial, but not of the variety that, you know, a lot of people think industrial music would have, which is obviously like the Ministry thing later on, or I don't know, Nine Inch Nails perhaps, or, you know, De Croix and that sort of stuff. This is more along the lines of, I suppose, what bands like Unterzende Norbaten, Front 242, Clock DVA, and bands like that were sort of representing. So it's really pummeling drums, and just obviously Michael Gira just doing his whole howling thing. It's a fairly sort of blunt force trauma. There's no textures. It's just a really brutal mechanical beat, and that's pretty much it. It's quite a minimalist sounding track. And I've always loved it. It's got a real groove to it as well. I mean, think people forget about Swans how groovy they can be, because obviously because of their newer work, especially. So yeah, that is my first choice. Time is Money, Bastard from around 1986.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I obviously dig that. I thought you were going to go back even further.
Yeah.
But so you're not too far back from where I'm going to start off. But with that period, yeah, I think that, and it kind of carried, that's the one element I think that super carried over into the new Swans material.
Mm.
That kind of finding the groove out of the center of chaos
Yeah.
element, which
Oh,
is almost like a free jazz portion, like particularly some of the newer stuff.
oh God, yeah.
Yeah, it gets really abstract and then they kind of lock in, which is super effective live. I mean, I'm sure if you've seen them twice that you got to witness that firsthand. And every time I've seen them, it has been like kind of like that. I did see them back in the day once, and then I've
Okay.
seen them a handful of times.
Is that with Jarbo?
Yeah, I saw Majorva
Yeah.
once.
Cool. I remember actually going to, I forgot to mention at the beginning, when I second time I saw them was with a mate in again in Manchester at the Albert Hall, and they were so loud and so dense. I actually felt physically sick. And I've never felt that at a gig before. I've been to sort of seen Napalm Death and hardcore bands and all of that. But Swans, I actually felt like my chest was going to explode. I felt sick. I mean, it was a fantastic gig, but that's how dense it was and loud. So yeah, they're certainly a very impactful band to say the
Yeah,
least.
they're definitely the loudest. I mean, I've seen, Slayer, I've seen Motorhead, I've seen, all the metal bands, and they're louder than those guys. I mean, some of that is technically factored into the fact that they tend to play smaller venues than like
Yeah, of
Slayer would be playing.
course.
Um, and I think that that's more effective. Like seeing them in a festival, I'm not sure that I don't think you would get the full impact,
No, I don't.
And
No,
then if see them in a theater that seats, about 1,000 people is typically
yeah.
going to
Well, this
grab
place,
you.
well, the Albert Hall is like basically like a converted church. So yeah,
Right.
ideal. Really.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Cool.
all right.
So, my first pick is going to be from the 1987 album Children of God. And Michael actually doesn't sing on the song I'm picking. I'm picking Blood and Honey
Hmm.
that Jarbeau takes the vocals on. And it's, I mean, it's pretty typical of why I would like them. It's a very like dark and exotic toned song that she kind of wanders over as like the precursor to like all the Chelsea Wolves of the world.
Yes, I can understand that. Or, yeah, later on, Lydia Lunch, Diamante Gallas. Yeah, we kind of get into that territory. Maybe even Marissa Nadler.
Yeah, less so. Mercer Adler would be more of Burning World era.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Um,
A bit folkier. Yeah.
right.
Sure.
So yeah, so what do you got for number two?
All right, man. So I'm actually gone with that album as well, but I've gone for the opener, New Mind, and this was one of the first when YouTube was starting off. I can't remember now, 2006 or something. This was like I was just typing in random things. So I didn't really understand how it works, and I put in Swans, and New Mind was the song that came on, and I was like, Jesus Christ! This again, it has that hypnotic feel about it. I mean, Children of God's a fantastic record, but yeah, again, it has that industrially vibe to it. It's definitely them at their gothiest, I would say, and it's just got this sort of repeated refrain, um, and it's just like it's very, very ominous, and creepy as well. And it's just like the perfect way to start off this record. Um, and again, we got Ted, of course, who's one of my favorite all-time drummers, Ted Parsons. A guy called I don't know if I can pronounce his name, Algis Kurzis, who would go on to be in many other noise rock bands. You've got Jarbo, Norman Westberg, and Michael Gira. So this is like a classic lineup, really. So yeah, New Mind for me is my next choice.
Late 80s, early to kind of mid 90s, I suppose. I guess I got a song in the mid 90s. Um, Time period, I think, is their strongest. It's just the
Hmm.
most concise for songwriting.
Oh yeah.
And so my second song is going to come from their only major label album, which I already mentioned, The Burning World. And I'm going to go with Let It Come Down,
Okay. Yeah.
which is, yeah, that's kind of typifies more of the direction they would head in during this period.
Mm,
Maybe it's not as sonically dense or hypnotic. It's more, I guess, kind of brooding and moodier than, you know,
mm,
what they've done before and moves in more of like a Leonard Cohen type direction.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a great song. It's, depressing enough, dark enough, and what I want from them. So there we go.
Well, that album actually, I've heard reports that Michael Giro isn't necessarily the biggest fan of that particular album. I think they had a lot of problems. I don't know if they had problems with the producer, but he was very, very unhappy with the results. I mean, I love it. I'm like you, I think it's a great record, but Giro can be a little bit testy at the best of times, to say the least. So yeah, it's a shame that he seems to look down on it so much. I guess it was just a difficult time, but that's a great tune.
All right, what you got?
All right, so I'm gonna do a cover now, and I think you'll probably know which one I'm gonna refer to. Again, it came out in 1987, actually probably 1988, and it's their cover of "Love Will Tear Us Apart." Um, I've got to be honest. The original, of course, I mean, it's a classic. It's by Joy Division. Anyone who's listening doesn't know that. But unfortunately, Peter Hook and New Order now, when they do this version, this song, they turn into a bloody football, as in soccer type song, and you get all these balding middle-aged men jumping up and down as if they're on the terraces. But what they sort of miss is what a beautifully delicate track that was. And of course, Gira, um, in this stripped down acoustic version, really brings another dimension, really, the essence of what Curtis was singing about, which wasn't celebratory at all, of course. And I think that with this song, I think this kind of maybe gave them the courage. I could be wrong, of course, but I feel like it gave them the courage to sort of go into slightly sort of different textures. Like not everything needed to be loud and pummeling and discordant and weird. That they could sort of be a bit delicate and tender at the same time, but still have that brooding quality. And I think this sort of laid the groundwork for the album that you just touched on, like The Burning World, and then, obviously some of their later early 90s works too. So I think this is a wonderful cover. I'd love to get a copy of the single actually. And yeah, it's just good to remind yourself what a fantastic tune this was in its original form, um, despite being really quite overplayed at this point. So yeah, that's my next choice. Love Will Tear Us Apart.
Right. See, that must be a UK thing because
Yeah.
I don't really, unless it's like a like goth night, I don't really hear Love Will Tear Us Apart in the States.
Mm.
Um, yeah, every now and then it trickles in like some music in the grocery store or something.
Really?
But
Wow.
you
Okay.
never hear it on the, I don't listen to much radio, but I'm gonna go
Yeah,
ahead
yeah.
and say you don't hear it on the radio.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so there's that. And I like Swan's version
Yeah.
better than the Joy Division because I mean, Kira's just a better singer than Ian Curtis.
Yeah, I
He has a
mean,
better
don't get me
voice.
wrong. I mean, Curtis obviously great front man, God rest his soul. But yeah, in terms of emotional resonance, I think Gira really captures the essence of that song, which I mean, it is a really beautiful song, very sad tune. Um, but yeah, you're right. I think Gira is is far better singer. I mean,
Right. I
certainly
mean,
better than Barney from New Order, that's for sure.
yeah. I mean, and I think that, that's kind of you're hitting the peak of Ian Curtis's vocal prowess was that song too, because he didn't really do a lot of crooning. He was mainly almost like a Jim Morrison, low-spoken
Mm.
type approach.
Yeah, apart from his wacky dancing, if you want to put it
Right,
that,
yeah, yeah,
he wasn't exactly, yeah, he wasn't exactly the most amazing singer. What he did was excellent for what it was, but it's quite limited.
right.
Uh, I mean, you couldn't say, for example, see him fronting Simple Minds or something,
No,
or he was hardly Michael Hutchins. He's
right,
a very charismatic guy, but very different type of front man. And I suppose Shearer, in a way, kind of fits in with that, but just with a better voice.
right, right.
That's
Yeah, he
it.
just has a little more power and a little more depth to his tone.
Yeah, what do they call it? T Timbre or
Yeah,
timbre, something like
resonance.
that.
He has more
Yeah,
resonance, I would say.
that's it for sure, man.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go into my favorite time period, which is the early 90s.
Hmm.
Um, and since we're going in order, I'll go with the song from White Light and From the Mouth of Infinity, and it's You Know Nothing.
Hmm.
And here's where I think they really lock into like that hypnotic thing that you were talking about. But they're doing it with like a pounding drone. Um, and I got these albums shortly. I mean, so I guess the first thing that I'd ever heard like this, and it took me years to find out that, Thurston Moore was actually in an incarnation of Swans
Mm.
early on. Um, but yeah, like I remember the album Daydream Nation, kind of has that atmosphere, and we've talked about that album before on here.
Yeah.
Um, and I like what I liked about Swan. I loved that album when I was in high school. So when I it was a few years, I think it was probably shortly after. It wasn't right when this came out. I discovered Swans probably in 93.
Mm.
Um, so this album had been out a couple years, but it was like, oh, well, I like this. It's kind of like if you took Sonic Youth and combined it with Jesus and the Mary Chain.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what won me. That was I think the first album that I bought by Swans was this album, so that's why that song is of utmost importance to me.
Yeah, yeah, it's a fantastic record. Despite being a fairly verbose title, I would say it's a cracking record, and yeah, definitely one that I go back to, which kind of coincides with my next choice, funnily enough, because I think we're of one mind tonight, my friend, because I've also gone for a track from White Light from the Mouth of Infinity. Um, but hang on, just before I proceed, doesn't that's basically death, I presume? White light. You see the white light when you're passing away, maybe?
Right, yeah, I guess that's what they call it.
Possibly. Maybe. Trying to figure out what Jira is going on about is never easy. But my choice is actually one of the, I guess you could call it more of a ballad, because you've got Miguel Jarbo on it, leading it. And it's a song Failure. And there's just a really fragile, I guess haunting quality about it. I mean, I think Jarbo was such an asset to this band. I sure saw her live actually a few years ago, and she was great then. But yeah, just a really beautiful. Again, much like Love Will Tear Us Apart, just has that sort of fragility, and I think really demonstrates how that other side to Swans. It doesn't need to be noise and chaos and pain, and as fun as all that is, they are capable of incredible depth and emotion and emotional resonance as well. And I think this song, Failure, certainly is one of those. And yeah, so it's definitely one of their more gothic tunes. A person that she reminds me of, I mean, I don't know if this lady's on your radar as well, is Gitane from Christian Death. It's kind of in that vein, it's that gothic quality. So yeah, this is definitely my next choice, Failure.
Right, and I think the one thing about Jarbo, and I was kind of coming to this conclusion as we've been talking about it, is the kind of parallels between like what Nico did with the Velvet Underground and Swans. I'm sure that the Velvet Underground was definitely an inspiration for them
Hmm.
because there's similar sonic qualities if you think about a song like Venus and Furs.
Yeah.
So, which that would have been a good song for them to cover. I wonder why they didn't, but oh well.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I could definitely hear elements of Nico, especially her solo work as well. Both in Jarbo as well as this era of Swans, Of course, Jarbo has a Nico's voice is an acquired taste, let's say. It's not for everybody. But yeah, I can definitely detect influences there from her.
right. Because I mean, music is not created in a vacuum, so there's always
Hmm,
going to be some sort of something in the periphery that taps into the combination of sounds.
for sure.
Um, and I kind of see my next pick as being a continuation of the 91 album with the 92 album, Love of Life.
Yeah.
And I am going with the title track of that one,
Hmm.
which is such a massive guitar sound that they hit you with. And I like how it like kind of rings. It sounds like bells chiming.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Love of life. Yeah, yeah, just thinking about it now. It's interesting that they released the sort of these two albums so closely together as well.
It seems like it would have had to have been the same sessions or songs that just didn't get
Yeah.
recorded. Um,
Basically think load and reload, but not crap.
right, exactly. Yeah.
I'm being a bit facetious there, but
Probably
yeah.
much more, many, many more drugs than
Yeah, for
being
sure.
concerned.
Oh
Particularly
dear.
during this era, like it seems to me, and I don't know, oddly enough, it's something that I haven't really researched.
Hmm.
Although the times that I've met Gira, he's been sober.
Yeah.
Um, but I assume that wasn't always the case.
I
Uh,
mean, so what is he like? Because I'm always a little bit intimidated by him. He's quite, as I say, I find him like one of those people. He's probably okay, but you
yeah, he
wouldn't
just
mess.
seems like, he was very polite.
Yeah,
Um, Super polite, very formal.
yeah.
He called me sir.
Wow.
And we just talked very briefly, because there was a whole line of people there I didn't ask for an autograph or anything. I was just wanted to shake his hand and
Sure.
uh, express my gratitude. And I was I bought the shirt that has like the teeth on it with like looks like the greed cover.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. I got yeah.
Yep. So
Cool.
yeah, I mean he was cool.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, as I saw him do an acoustic live performance. A friend had invited me down to Canterbury in Kent, and I saw him do a solo set. And I think before that he had was he called Christoph Hahn? I think he was in
Right. Yeah.
as well, doing a little set as well. It's quite interesting, I can't say I'm as blown away by those sets than Swans, but it was quite cool to see him in that sort of format too.
Right.
So yeah, cool,
All
nice one.
right. What you got?
Right, okay. So I thought I should at least give the post reunion era a little bit of recognition. Um, and I've decided to go with the album To Be Kind, which is probably my favorite out of all the, post 2010 records. Um, and I've gone for the track, a little ditty. It's quite a short song by the name of Bring the Sun slash Toussaint La Verture. Hope I pronounced that right. I say short song, ironically, of course. It's over 34 minutes long. I'd say this is epic. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's so many different things. I'm even struggling to even. You're listening to it and you're constantly trying to figure out what on earth is going on. And honestly, it makes everything they've done in the past seemed just like pop music by comparison. It is right out there. But it's a fantastic tune, and it really once you acclimatize yourself to what's happening and the weird drones in it, weird sort of samples and spoken word and all this sort of stuff, then you really start to get the full impact of this track. And I just think the whole album, and I can't remember if this is the record. I think it might be the record which starts off with the sound of a baby crying, I believe. And that really, and of course, the cover is of I think, of a baby. But it's such a great record, and this song in particular is just immense and epic in all senses of the word. I think it's up there as one of their longest tracks, so I could be wrong. So, yeah, time to give To Be Kind and their later era some love, and that is my choice.
Yeah, I'll listen to those albums a
Yeah,
little more. They're not going to make it on mine. But
fair
um,
enough.
yeah, but the song that is my last song is my favorite Swan song ever. And a
Hmm.
lot of it has to do with the lyrics. I mean, musically, it's probably one of his better vocal performances. Um, there's a cool bass solo in the middle. It's coming from 1995. And the reason I like this song so much is I'm really into horror and serial killers, and it's
Mhm.
actually about a serial killer. It's about a Scottish serial killer named Dennis Nilsen,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it is Killing for Company.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's just a very beautiful song. And and that's kind of my thing with Slayer too. My favorite songs
Sure.
by Slayer, when we get around to them, are a lot of their serial killer love songs. I like that too.
The
Um,
3 or something, that kind of
so
thing.
yeah, they have a few of those, and this is I don't know, it just flows really well. It has all the dynamics you could want from it, and it's a good example of how you can be heavy without being loud or metal.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like emotionally heavy and so dark that it's heavy.
Well, interesting you should say that actually. That particular song, I was just reading the notes to it, and we have I don't know if you've heard of this guy, he's a reviewer over here in the UK called Dom Lawson. He's quite a good reviewer, and he called the song an object lesson in sonic unease and one of the band's most devastating moments alongside Celebrity Lifestyle.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I mean, they came from the same album.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
quite.
and then that's probably because that also has Blood Promise on there, which I like a lot.
Yeah.
So Great Annihilator is probably my favorite album by them. But yeah,
Mm.
unfortunately, when I saw them, they did not play that during on that tour. They did not play that song,
Right. Right. Mm.
but they did play Celebrity Lifestyle, but they did not play.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta take
Yeah.
what you can get.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, like as with your good self, you said you've got to give the later albums more of a listen. I think this particular record and the one after it, are one Soundtracks for the Blind, are the two I just haven't ever really properly listened to. It's not intentional by any means. It's just sometimes you overlook things a bit. So I've probably got to do a little
Yeah,
bit.
so soundtrack for the blind is more like you've eaten some mushrooms and it's raining outside.
Yeah.
Then that's a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's not as song oriented, but I mean, I've listened to that album several times in that situation. And yeah, I mean, it works perfectly. So it's more of an experience than songs. That's where I
Yeah.
kind of get into that sounds versus songs debate, but I have a little more leeway there because it's like almost feels like a Negative Land album.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and anyone who's thinking, well, who's Negative Land? Yeah, I've got one word, you too.
Right, yeah.
Anyone who knows that band will know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, great band.
Right.
Very, very funny. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that.
So yeah, a lot of soundscapes, samples are the narrative more than vocals.
Yeah.
Which a lot of times I don't think that that conveys songwriting as much, but I love when bands use samples in a very effective way,
Cool.
like Ministry is good about doing it, Skinny Puppy is good about doing it, Swans are
Even a band like Fear Factory early on, they even
right.
they
Mr. Bungle, the first Mr. Bungle album has some great
yeah,
songs.
definitely, yeah. Faith No More. Yeah, I mean it can be utilized very, very well. Other times maybe not so much, but yeah, the instances we've given have certainly demonstrated it is possible as long as it slipped in discreetly rather than just dominating throughout.
Yeah.
So
Or if
yeah.
it's dominating throughout, then that has to be the backbone of the song that you're writing around it.
Yeah. Well, at least to do something interesting with it, not just have it there, sort of, drifting in some
Did
weird musical black hole, not really with no tune, nothing surrounding it.
While it's vaguely connected,
Hmm.
I would say a good example of this is have you ever heard the Frank Zappa album, Frank Zappa versus the Mothers of Prevention?
Long, long time
Yeah,
ago.
it's great. It's about that Senate hearing about censorship.
Right. Are
Where
we talking about
people,
mid-80s or
yep, yep. Yeah, because
mid-80s?
it came out in the 80s. I mean, I guess
Oh
he
yeah,
took the tapes and started
sure.
playing them.
Yeah. Yeah, Zappa's yeah, we'll have to do a conversation about him. I mean, I kind of have a bit of a I like some of it. Some of it I've got no patience or any understanding of what on earth he's talking about some of the time because it is beyond weird and maybe cultural reference points that I don't understand. But
Right, okay.
yeah, he's an interesting character. I like some of his work, but it's so massive that
Yeah, I mean,
inevitably.
that's the thing. There's so many albums. I mean, back when people collected CDs, I had all the CDs at one point in time. But
Jesus.
there's so much till I've just
Oh,
like have files of okay, well, I like this period and I like this period and I like this period.
yeah.
Um, yeah. And he's another one
Well,
who's not a great singer, but he surrounded
no.
himself with good singers.
Well, and the fantastic musicians, crikey, to
Yeah.
be in
Oh,
his
yeah.
band, you better make sure that you were a solid musician. Terry Bozzio and what's he called, Chester Thompson, and all those
Right.
people.
Yeah, you had to be like King Crimson caliber.
Yeah, and
And
what's
that was kind of there was a circuit, I guess, of musicians that flowed from his band to Peter Gabriel to King Crimson to
for
David Bowie to John Lennon. So I
sure.
guess that was like the top tier.
Yeah, yeah, you've definitely done well. I think even wasn't Steve Vai a member of his band at some point as
Yeah,
well? I'm
yeah,
I'm not particularly into Mr. Vai's work. I think he's a nice enough chap. It's just not really my cup of tea. But just point being that nearly everyone who was, a pretty impressive musician would pass through the ranks. He obviously he obviously had a sort of in a way kind of like David Lee Roth in a sense or Ozzy. They kind of have that sort of sense of, oh, this guy's good. I've got to get
right.
him in.
Yeah, just a
And then
junior
sort
core.
yeah.
Well, I mean, David Lee Roth had Steve Vai in his band too, so
He did, and a guy called Jason Becker, and these
yeah,
really talented dudes. I mean, some of it's sort of virtuoso, widdly stuff, which
right.
isn't something that I find too thrilling. But the point being, they would always surround themselves with exceptional musicians, which they certainly were.
Sure, and Steve Vai played in the one of the iterations of King Crimson.
Oh, right, okay,
Yeah.
cool, wow, brilliant.
So there we go.
Yeah,
All
you
right,
wouldn't
so
want
next
him
week
doing
we're going
cheesy
to be kind
covers.
of picking up where we left off here sonically, I think, and going into Killing Joke,
Ah, nice.
which that makes sense. And I think that, we'll also give you two in a row because it makes sense sonically for us to go from Swans to Killing Joke to Ministry.
Oh
So,
yeah, absolutely, quite a transition. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that's what the near future holds. So, yeah, if you guys are curious, you could probably pick up any Swans album and it's going to be a different experience. But
Oh yeah. I
yeah,
mean, they're just such an incredible band, and as I say, I would probably advise if anyone's listening to this who doesn't know where to start, I don't start on the new records because
mhm.
that's going to be a chore for you because you haven't acclimatized yourself. Definitely check out the records that we recommend, which I would say are more accessible, quote unquote,
I think
accessible.
Children of God's a good starting point. You're
Yes.
getting a little bit of industrial and you're getting the opening of the door that kind of
Yeah,
takes them to their most iconic work.
for sure. I agree. And then maybe start venturing into the ridiculous 30 to 40-minute songs later
Right.
on.
If you can enjoy 40-minute songs, so there you
Yes.
go. All right, cool kids. You guys like and subscribe and all that stuff, and we will see you next week.